So welcome to part 2 of exposing the tactics of spiritual abuse, where I'll be talking about 10 more red flags to look out for in your spiritual or religious friendships and communities. In part 1, I talked about the subtle and sophisticated tactics that spiritual abusers use to control and manipulate others. We also talked about the importance of considering the context and the intention behind the behaviors and trusting your instincts when something feels off. It's important to remember that not every tactic that I talk about has to be there in order for a group to be considered harmful. Also, if a group uses one of these tactics, it does not necessarily mean that they are abusive. Context is everything, so make sure you seek support if you're concerned. Let's dive right in. Tactic number 1, creating an us versus them mentality. One of the tactics that spiritual abusers use is creating this division between us and them, often labeling outsiders as unconscious, low vibe, or sinners. This creates a sense of superiority within the group and can be used to justify the mistreatment or exclusion of those who do not conform to the group's beliefs or practices. This tactic is often used to isolate people from their friends and their family, limiting access to outside information or perspectives. In the spiritual cult I was involved in, the leader subtly spoke down on outsiders and created this image that you couldn't trust anybody in the outside world because they were asleep or of lower consciousness. Many members who had issues couldn't trust going to their family or professional for help because they wouldn't be of any help, they thought. They may even discourage or forbid communication with people who have left the group and shun those who choose to leave. For example, in Scientology, they would label anybody who raised concerns and questions about them as a suppressive person, and they forbid people from within that organization to talk to them. This us versus them mentality creates a sense of superiority as well as fear and dependency on the group and discourages people from seeking help or leaving that group. Tactic number 2 is when they say that the leader or the teachers are completely clear. This can be used to justify abusive behavior or to silence victims. They may also use this tactic to assert authority or control over other people by claiming that their interpretation of the teachings or ideology is the only correct one, that the leader is enlightened and therefore can do no harm, and have people blindly believe everything that comes out of their mouth. They may also use claims of prophecy or revelation to control and manipulate victims by claiming to have a special insight or understanding of the will of a higher power that can do no wrong. This tactic is often used to justify the leader's actions or decisions without proper examination or questioning. They may also use this tactic to assert that their beliefs and practices are the only correct ones and that anyone who disagrees with it is not following the right path. This tactic is often used to control and manipulate people by asserting their authority and silencing any doubts, concerns, or questioning. Tactic number 3, pushing for unity as a means of control. So one tactic that spiritual abusers can use is pushing for this unity within the group, often under the guise of promoting harmony and cohesion. However, this can often be used as a means of manipulation and control because it can actually mean a desire for uniformity and conformity. This tactic can be used to demand complete obedience and submission to religious authority figures or leaders by portraying that any dissent or any questioning is a disruption of that unity. This can also be used to silence people and create this culture of fear and compliance within the group. It's important to be aware that true unity is built on mutual respect, healthy communication, diversity, and this open-mindedness. It should not involve the suppression of individuality or the suppression of dissenting voices. Tactic number 4 is twisting teachings. By twisting the meaning of the teachings, spiritual abusers can justify their actions, control the behavior of others, and maintain that power and control over the group. So it's really important to be aware that proper examination and understanding of the teachings is necessary to understand their intended meaning. Make sure that you involve your critical thinking. Look at the person who's saying it, and are there any hidden agendas of why they are saying it in that way? Tactic number 5 is cherry-picking teachings. Another common tactic that I see spiritual abusers use is cherry-picking their teachings in order to fit their own self-serving agendas. This can include selectively choosing certain teachings while ignoring or dismissing others that may challenge their authority or beliefs. By cherry-picking teachings, spiritual abusers can justify their actions, control the behavior of others, and again, maintain that power and control over the group. You might find that they are consistently contradicting themselves of what they say or what they teach or their words and their actions. Tactic number 6, discrediting or invalidating the personal experiences and emotions of others. Now, this tactic can include dismissing, belittling somebody's feelings, thoughts, or concerns, or or suggesting that they're just not in line with the teachings or the beliefs of the group. An abuser might say things like, "You're not your thoughts or your emotions. This body's not your body and you're just a temporary vessel. Your true self is not affected by what's happening in this world or by what I do to you." While his teaching might support somebody who's in deep suffering feel a sense of relief, this tactic of using this phrase could also be used to silence victims and to invalidate their human experiences and creating this culture of fear and compliance within the group. And they can think that something is wrong with them for having human emotions. It's important to be aware that people have the right to their own thoughts, feelings, and experiences, and these should be validated and respected. Tactic number 7 is spiritual love bombing. So now this is when an abuser showers somebody with excessive affection, love, and attention, only to later exploit them. This tactic is used to gain the trust and loyalty of the other person, making them more susceptible to manipulation and control. The abuser may use spiritual teachings, rituals, or practices to make that victim feel special, chosen, or privileged. They may also use intermittent reinforcement, giving that person just small amounts of positive reinforcement, such as compliments, tokens of affection, or telling them how much they've spiritually advanced to keep them invested in that group. For example, in my toxic spiritual group, they showered me with compliments of how advanced I was and how I was the best thing that had ever happened to their team and how the leader couldn't complete his mission without me. It was a way to draw me in and keep me hooked so the leader could later tear down my self-esteem. Now, spiritual love bombing can be used to build that trust and a false sense of connection. Because once that trust is established, they may begin to successfully use spiritual manipulation tactics such as belittling, disrespect, or emotional abuse to tear that person down. And it's important to be aware that true spirituality should be based on love, respect, mutual consent. Tactic number 8, using fasting, dietary restrictions, or sleep deprivation in order to control and weaken other people. The abuser may use religious or spiritual teachings to justify these practices, suggesting that they are necessary for spiritual growth or purification. The abuser may use this tactic also to make the victim more susceptible to manipulation and control by making them physically and psychologically weaker. The abuser may also use this tactic to justify their own behavior as a test of faith or a punishment for sins, or to blame the victim for the abuse. Tactic number 9, using special language to control and manipulate others. Create a special kind of language that only insiders recognize, and it can trigger strong emotions in other people. This language may include special words, phrases, or symbols that are used to create a sense of belonging and exclusivity among members of the group. The abuser may also use special language to create a sense of superiority among members of the group by making them feel special or chosen. This tactic is used to create a sense of loyalty and dependency among the members of the group and to control their behavior. The abuser may also use this tactic to discourage members from seeking help or leaving the group by making them feel like outsiders or just lesser than because they don't understand their special language. They just don't get it. Tactic number 10, using shame and guilt to control behavior. The abuser might use religious or spiritual teachings to make that other person feel guilty or ashamed for their thoughts, behaviors, or feelings in order to control their behavior. The abuser might also use shame and guilt to control the victim's behavior by making them feel like they're just not good enough, or they're not living up to the expectations of the group or to a higher power. So as you can see, spiritual abuse can take on many different forms and can be really hard to recognize. These tactics are often used in subtle and covert, sophisticated ways, making it really difficult to identify, especially when you're in it. By becoming aware of these red flags, however, you can better protect yourself and others from spiritual abuse. Make sure to check out part 1 of the spiritual abuse tactics for 10 more red flags if you haven't done so already. Remember to trust your instincts and seek support if something feels off. Also, you can download my Cult Recovery Guide. It's a free 50-page guide that can help you determine how destructive or healthy a group is and help you on your journey of healing and recovery. Make sure to subscribe for more videos as I continue to expose the tactics of spiritual and other types of abuse. Thank you guys so much for watching.